my next door neighbor, I was a single mom at the time. So I had 3 children at that time. And I moved into this little cul-de-sac, and it was all like single women, single moms. And my next door neighbor, she was competing in bodybuilding, or she was doing I think back bikini, I think she was. But she's like, I need to introduce you to my coach. She'll help you learn and understand the sport. And so she introduced me to my first coach, and she taught me that cheese was not a protein.
That cheese is good. I remember when we were kids, we used to get the government cheese, and
Yeah,
it'd
we
be
did
like
too.
really thick, yeah. And
Yeah,
it was the best. It was the best cheese.
it was so good.
I
Pierogies
mean,
with that. Oh,
oh my god, we used to we had sometimes I put potatoes on it, and I put like my mom cooked boiled potatoes, put potatoes on top of my cheese. That tastes so good. And they still make it, but it's just not the same. It doesn't cut right. It don't really melt right.
you
I
got to buy
don't
the
know.
block. Like these
Yeah,
blocks of cheese you used to get. It was so
yeah. Yeah,
good.
it's so good. It's so
Yeah.
good. It just maybe just me just being back then. I grew up in the good part of the '80s, and I don't know. It's just, but everything you have to change and progress as a person, and that friend of yours, is she still competes, or she just
Well, she was a competitor. So that was 12 years ago. And
Mhm.
so she we had a team. It was Angie's Angels, and she became a good friend of mine. She stopped. She's a nutritionist, so she stopped her team and got out of the business. But we stayed friends, so we're still friends to this day. We meet and talk. But yeah, so she was my first interest into got me. It was so funny. Just she's like, "Oh my goodness, we have a lot to do." She met me like a half a grilled cheese sandwich and like a half of cream of tomato soup is okay. Like, I didn't know, but
Yeah.
yeah. So I learned to like vegetables, and she taught me a lot. And then I moved. I did figure when I first got into it, and I look at those pictures now. I'm like, what was I doing on stage? Like I should never have gotten up there. It was bad. I ate like a jar of peanut butter, I think, 5 weeks before my first show because I was still in the mindset, oh, peanut butter's good for you too. It's good, but yeah.
It's good, but not good for you per se. Because I know a lot of bodybuilders, y'all love peanut butter because it's not too like, especially if you're diabetic. My mother's diabetic; she love peanut butter. I mean, and it's just a good It's a good snack. You want to have a little like an apple or something like that. But then sometimes some people just eat it like out of a jar, like eating raw cookie dough.
I hid in my pantry my first show 5 weeks before the show, and I ate a whole jar. And it wasn't the natural stuff. It was like Skippy or Jif or something. It was like, and and then I see my pictures. I was like, oh, why? Wow. Oof. Shame on me. Now I'm looking back at that saying, I wish I knew then. And that wasn't that long. I started competing 11 years ago. 12 years ago, I started prepping for this first show. So it took me about a year and a half to get ready to get on stage. And I wasn't ready to get on stage anyway, but I just wish I could go back and know what I knew, because then I'm like, wow, where would I be now if I knew that? But bodybuilding, I think it's a learning experience for all of us, right? I think even with coaches, I'm with my last coach. I will never leave him. I love him to death. He's really learning about my body. And I think that was one of the key pieces. You can't keep switching coaches because once your coach learns you can get that swing. But if you give up on your coach or blame your coach, then it ruins the mojo. So I learned. I've had several different coaches, but I'm kind of settled. I use this particular coach, Shelby Starnes, who's phenomenal with women's bodybuilding. I used
That's
him
a
several years
that's
ago. He's the
that's
man.
that's the name that gets dropped. I know he is like the female bodybuilding whisperer. I've interviewed ladies that have been trained
Yeah.
by him, are still being trained by him. He's just one of those guys that just really knows, really understands a woman's body, and because I remember I interviewed a lady who was a figure competitor. She was working with a guy who was a pro level bodybuilder, champion level guy, and it just didn't work out because he was like, I think this: women and men are different. We're the same species. We're all humans, but we're different breed of human. What you can work for a man is not going to work for a woman. And sometimes, there's a good relationship with coaches. I know a lady who had a coach. She loves her coach, and he passed away, and she took a while before she found the right coach. And Shelby, guys like Shelby. I saw there's also Nasir, also I think Brandon Ray, and a lot of names get dropped. These are pretty good. Who was your last coach before Shelby?
I used the one right before Shelby was Trey Hodge, who's down in North Carolina. I love
Yeah,
Trey.
yeah, Trey.
He's
Yeah, Trey.
he's a
He does. He works with Monique Jones. I know he works with Sheena Olick. I mean, and he's right here in my home state. I mean, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I love Trey. Trey and I got along really really well. I think he and I, um, he's expanding his chiropractic business. He's a really really good businessman, and I think I needed a little more hand holding. But I had used Shelby. He was my third coach. I've had five total coaches, and I used Shelby was my third coach. And then I bought a few gyms. My husband and I bought some gyms, and they went sour during COVID, and I felt financially I just needed to make better decisions for my family, not because they were sacrifice a lot for me. A lot of times bodybuilders say we sacrifice a lot. No, we're given such great opportunities to do this. We're choosing to do this. Our families aren't choosing to do this. They're stuck with dealing with us when we're doing this. So I was financially, I drained a lot of money out of our accounts trying to keep the gyms open, and I just couldn't justify financially. So I used another coach, and then Shelby was always there, in my mind because we did so well together. And then I used Trey, trying to kind of find the mix after the last coach before him, which I won't mention his name because we didn't get along very well. And then
okay,
my husband said to me, "You know what? You've never." So 2 years ago, my husband's like, "You've never felt better than when you're with Shelby." He physically, he makes me get health checkups. He made me get blood work. He's like, I'm older, and he recognizes an older woman's body. And the fact that he made me get the blood work before he would start working with me again and to give me a plan and to see how we were going to go. So my husband's like, just let's invest, and I'll never change again. So then he got me got my pro card last year, and I wouldn't have done it without him because mentally it's something, right? Because I think when you get up there, I'm always like the person doubting myself, like, do I deserve this? As a matter of fact, when they called my number, I didn't believe it. And I just started bawling my eyes out. And Sandy had to talk me off the ledge because I was just standing there frozen. I was crying. My eyelashes were down my face. I just couldn't believe it really happened. So, yeah.
yeah.
But I
Because
started up figure, then I went into physique. I got too big. I got a feedback from the judges that I'm too big. I outgrew figure. And then I went into physique, and I'm never going to have that. I had 4 children out of my belly, a set of twins out of that. And I'm never going to have that tiny little waist. And physique is evolving to be bigger with still tiny waists. So I kind of fit better into bodybuilding. So then I moved into bodybuilding when I went back to Shelby 2 years ago.
yeah, because like I said, Shelby is a probably top. There's some controversy around here with some of the stuff, but sometimes it's with certain people. I'm not going to name certain names either myself,
Right.
but yeah, it's this is like I said. I've talked to this yesterday with one lady who competes in OCP.
Mm.
She's a bikini competitor. It's about trusting the process, but you also have to understand the process.
Right.
And once you understand it, you can fully you can fully trust it. We hear somebody coming through here. This is a guy who great fan of ours or this channel, and also he's a great guy. This is my man, the Art of Female Muscle podcast. Hey George, shout out to him. He does content on women's bodybuilding also. And this is my brother right here, KL the Wanderer. He also does content on women's bodybuilding, also other stuff too. He says good afternoon. Say good afternoon to you. Yeah, and it takes time, and is your figure division, it's even that division starting to look like, I was like, if you look at it now, if you take the figure girls now, they look closer to like the Linda Murrays back in the day. Because Linda Murray, I wasn't a big Linda Murray fan. I was more like Laura Craval. I loved Vicky Gates. Angela Langer was a legend back in the 80s. Remember Angela Langer? She was a beautiful physique. I think people like people talk about Iris Kyle. She changed the sport, being a 10-time champion. People can say like this, she is 10 champions, 10 physique champions, but it's still Olympia champions. She has 10 of them. She has 2 more than Ronnie Coleman.
Right.
Yeah. So what was that like that first time you're on stage? You're wearing the high heels, you're posing, you're turning around. What was that like for your mindset?
Yeah, like I said, I shouldn't have been on stage. I wasn't ready. Now I know I wasn't ready, but my coach is like, nope, you're getting there. You dieted down to this. You're getting on stage. So I was terrified. I mean, I remember going. It was a good venue. It was Craig Johnson up here in the Allentown area. He puts on really great shows, and he makes it as comfortable as he can. And the judges there were amazing judges. They were really good. But yeah, I was terrified, and I think because there were very little competitors in that show. It was a smaller show. I got to the finals, which I didn't deserve to be, and the girl that was up against me for overall in figure, she was a real tall woman. She was getting ready for nationals the next week, and she deserved to win her pro card. And I don't know if she did or not. I never followed up, but so I'm standing there with her, and she was like 5. I'm only 5'1", so she was like 5'8", and here's me like 5'1", and so I stood up and I like leaned into her armpit, and she was like, "What is this girl doing?" I was just hugging her because I thought she was awesome. but,
Yeah,
but yeah, so
yeah, that's good. Especially try to have support especially with women. And one thing is, you're on that stage with those clear heels, and and one of my jobs, I had quite a few jobs when I was coming up. I used to work at a gas station. I worked in textiles. I worked at a food processing plant. I also had this little job when it was at night. I used to work in a strip club, or they call it a gentleman's club. They weren't gentlemen, when they were acting. And you have to perform. You have to really set a presentation. You have to do it in high heels. That's tough. So you made a switch from figure. Do you feel like saying, "Wow, get off these damn heels"?
I donated those heels. I never looked back. I gave them away to another woman who was doing it, and I never looked back. Yeah. Good. God bless them. They're walking around in those things. I used to have to carry my feet are wide, so I used to have to carry a blow dryer with me, and I would heat them up to get the plastic to expand to my feet. So when they expanded and then my feet got in and then it cooled off, they were glued to my feet. So when I took them off, I was so happy. I was like, thank goodness I got too big. So yeah. So I was crushed by the judges. I thought, oh, the feedback was, I took it personally, and you can't take it personally, but I took it personally back then, that I'm too big for figure. I'm like, how could I be too big for figure? But I understood it after I went back and the emotions calmed down. And then I looked, I'm like, you're right. I'm too big for figure. Thank goodness. Now let's go physique. So yeah.
Yeah. Because like I said, it's a process. But like I said, again, you look at the figure girls now, they almost look like closer to physique compared to when they first started.
Yeah.
And this is talk about how the divisions are starting just to meld, where like someone like good example like Natalia Cuejo can stand on stage with Andrea Shaw. I think Sarah Vilgas, she's still on the more leaner, smaller side. She has
Natalie could stand there in bodybuilding next to Andrea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Natalia.
Natalia. But like I said, they always go say like, I don't want to go up to women's bodybuilding because I don't want to be feminine. I don't want to lose my femininity. Yeah. But the fact is, you're about as big as some women in bodybuilding. I mean, it's about the process. And like I said, now you got to think about it, she's not even 30 yet. And she started out as figure, and when she went up and up and up and up. You have also, like, if you follow me on social media, Ashley Jones, who started also in figure, and she's getting that level. I mean, she's going to do an interview this later this evening with a guy who I know who's right here in North Carolina. His name is Glenn Young Senior. He's run his own magazine, which is called Amazon Fitness Magazine.
Oh yeah.
She just got sponsored by him. And maybe someday she come down here, and maybe I'm gonna get to meet her in North Carolina. We got here a man here, Chad Davis, coming through. He says, "Good afternoon, brother George. On my way to work. I hate to be here for a short period of time.